Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another weekly wrap-up for the Yakking Show, and this is for the week ending 23rd of August 2024. Yeah, the year is certainly going. But first, let's welcome Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you. And we had a guest that talked about um, fertility issues, right? And so that prompted me to do a little bit more investigating into endometriosis
Hmm.
specifically. And so today, that's what I really want to talk about because endometriosis quadruples the ovarian cancer risk. Did you know that?
Wow, I
That's
didn't
that's
know that.
that's
No,
huge.
wow, 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 wow. That is
Mhm.
huge.
So endometriosis, first of all, occurs when tissues lining the inside of the uterus also start growing outside the uterus. And this tissue thickens, breaks down, and bleeds with each menstrual cycle. But having no way to leave the body, the blood becomes trapped, potentially causing painful periods, heavy bleeding, abdominal pain, and even infertility. And what I've also learned that this article doesn't actually go into is that endometriosis can actually spread throughout the body. I had no
Hmm.
idea. I thought it was, you know, predominantly just outside the uterus, but no, it can even get into the hands. It can go anywhere in the body. Wow, I had no idea. So while prior studies have linked endometriosis to ovarian cancer, there's a new study that showed that endometriosis is linked to type 1 ovarian cancer in particular, which is a slower growing type with nearly 8 times the higher risk.
Wow.
So in ovarian endometrioma or tissue growth, the tissue growth causes blood to fill cysts inside the ovaries, and deep infiltrating endometriosis occurs when there is a significant amount of tissue growth and scarring outside of the uterus. And it says here, researchers found that women with ovarian endometriosis and deep infiltrating endometriosis, which indicates moderate to severe endometriosis, are the most strongly linked to ovarian cancer. Um, Women with either condition have more than a 19-fold risk of developing this type 1
Wow.
ovarian cancer, right? Various studies, they say, have proposed possible mechanisms to explain the link between endometriosis and ovarian cancer. And they say that endometriosis causes inflammation, and it's also related to hormonal and immune dysfunction, which may drive cancer risk. And it says here endometriosis needs the hormone estrogen to grow,
Mhm.
as do some types of ovarian cancers. So overall, they say people with endometriosis should be aware of the warning signs of ovarian cancer, which include bloating, stomach pain, the urge to urinate more frequently, changes in bowel function, unexplained weight loss. And if they have any of these symptoms, they really should consult their physicians, it says. Some women may consider surgery in order to remove the endometrial tissue or to their estrogen um, producing ovaries. They say mainstream treatments for endometriosis include hormonal therapies that work by either reducing or blocking estrogen or increasing progesterone. While this intervention may help control the symptoms, they say another recent study suggested that ovary removal may increase women's risk of dementia, they say. So I know.
I haven't heard that link before.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting correlation
Mm.
there.
Mm.
It says also in my last note here that the study says that they recommend women with endometriosis consume cruciferous vegetables and their
Okay.
extracts to help the body clear excess estrogen. I didn't know that about cruciferous vegetables.
Mm. Mm.
So there you go, Peter.
There we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read much about endometriosis in humans, but I
Mhm.
know from my veterinary knowledge that it's quite a big killer in cats, right? And also dogs.
What?
That Yeah, because quite often a female cat or a bitch can develop it, and because the progression is slow and the symptoms are not apparent, they don't get the animal to the vet in a hurry, and by the time they get to the vet, it's so advanced with that infiltration, as you say, in the abdominal area that quite often the only solution is to put them down. That they get to the stage where it's incurable. Whether it also leads to increasing cancer, I don't know. So again, from my association with vets and people who've worked in veterinary surgeries and my own animals, a little while back, it was common practice to let a cat or a bitch have 1 litter of puppies or kittens before being spayed, and that tended to reduce the chance of that animal getting endometriosis. Now, I don't know if that's still recommended, but certainly in Rhodesia, South Africa, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that was a big recommendation. Let them have 1 litter before you spay them, and it will reduce the chance of endometriosis.
Fascinating. I'd never heard that before.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was a big killer. But something else I wanted to ask you that, in
Mhm.
my knowledge, and going back 20, 30 years, many women with any problems with their reproductive organs were advised to get a hysterectomy, right? It was common, fairly common practice. And I think of my mother and a lot of other women I've known. I get the feeling that's not as common anymore, that that's a sort of last resort. Is that right, or have you heard?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure, Peter, but I would hope that that is a last resort.
Hmm.
My feeling, personal feeling here, is that you don't want to have any body parts cut out of you
Sure, sure,
unnecessarily.
sure.
Really. There has to be another way. And if there isn't, well, maybe that is the only recourse, but there's got to be a way. And certainly, this is why we promote Dr. Morse so well, because there's so many of his products that can help with so many different conditions.
Mhm.
And you just have to follow through with it. So,
Yeah, but I think there's other surgeries that, for instance, tonsils. When I was a kid, virtually everybody I knew had their tonsils out, right? It's nowhere near as common now, is it? We
no,
don't take, no.
no. And again, I think there's an appreciation of the fact that you just don't cut out body parts. We were given these body parts for a reason.
Sure,
And even though
sure.
our current medical system says, well, they're just, they're useless things that we don't really need. They're there for a reason.
They're
So,
there for
and now
absolutely.
I think they, either they form part of the immune system. There's a reason why we have them. It's just like an appendix. I've had an appendectomy. I had one
So
when
have
I
I.
was 26 years old. That wasn't fun, but that was an emergency surgery. And even then, I don't know if they're performing appendectomies quite as regularly as they were once.
I don't think so. From just anecdotally, from the number of people who 40 and younger who tell me they've had an appendectomy, I would say it's far fewer being performed than certainly
Mhm.
20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. So, now what about your health
Yes.
product? You've got a
Well,
health product.
yes. And today I want to talk about again the Heal All tea, Peter. And I know that you
Hmm.
have a cup of this
I'm
every
having it.
day.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now the Heal All tea, it does come in tea format, but it also comes as a tincture as well. So you can
Ah,
have Heal All drops that you can place, uh, just take with a little bit of water. And it's just as effective. But the Heal All tea is really for general maintenance because it assists the body's detoxification process. It's formulated with burdock, dandelion, slippery elm, and it's a great digestive tea. It tastes nice. It's not gritty or earthy. It has a very pleasant flavor,
oh yeah.
and it really just help your body with the healing process and help. And it's also got butcher's broom for circulatory support, black walnut and golden seal to promote the removal of unwanted organisms in the gut, and white oak and mullein to astringe interstitial fluid and promote lymphatic flow. So again, heal all tea.
Good. And I can reinforce what you said about taste. For instance, some of the herbal teas with ginseng or ginger, I find a bit harsh and they catch
Yeah.
my throat. But
Mhm.
this one's very pleasant. It doesn't it upset my throat at all. So I quite enjoy taking it. Good. Let's tell you what's been happening on the show this week. So on
Yes.
Tuesday, we interviewed Vicki Paris Goodman, an author and a grief counselor. And Vicki unfortunately lost her husband Sam 3 or 4 years ago, and while grieving for him, chose to see it as an opportunity to start a new life and have some new adventures. Rather than just dwell on the grief and the sadness and the depression. And she's gone ahead and done that. And in the course of that, she's written a book, and she now counsels other people on how to deal with grief. And she was good. I really enjoyed hearing her. And then just after we spoke to her, within a day or two, she was going off on a cruise to the Mediterranean. And if you hop onto her newsletter, she'll tell you all about cruises and stuff like that. So she was a good one. She was last week. And who's coming up next week? Well, next week we have Erica Hoke, who will be talking about natural ways to increase fertility or improve fertility, and she's a great case in point. Kathleen, you've got her story better than I have. Do you want to tell everyone what she talks about?
Well, you know what? What a sad situation for her, because she had a series of, medical conditions that prevented her from having children. And she was told by medical doctors that she likely would never be able to have children. And so she figured out a way, and she did it naturally. Today, she has 4 healthy children. So it's an inspiring story. She's helped a lot of women in the process. So if you're out there and you have fertility issues, you will want to listen to this interview.
Yeah, she was very good. And I got to add that included in those 4 children was a set of twins, right?
Yeah, that's
I think
right.
she was 41 or 42 years old or something. So
Yeah.
that was incredible. The following week will be Blanca Rodriguez, who talks about helping women get fit and healthy after menopause. And she talks about exercise, she talks about attitude, she talks about a lot. And I think she's good. She certainly seems to have it all together to how to help women live good, fruitful lives after menopause. And then the week after that will be a return visit from DJ Kadagian, our author and our near-death experience expert. And he's talking about near-death experiences. And that's a longer than normal episode. It runs for just under an hour, I think. But wow, the stories he has to tell, he tells other people's stories, documented, verified by medical practitioners of their near-death experiences. And wow, there's some incredible stories in there,
Oh,
and many of them, right? So that's what's
mhm,
coming up there.
mhm.
That's it for our next few episodes. And to make sure you don't miss out on our guests coming up in the next few weeks, hop onto our website, yakkingshow.com, and sign up for our newsletter. We just send you one email a week telling you who's on this week, who's on next week, Kathleen's health tips, and one of our previous authors' books as a featured book of the week. And that's what we do. So back to you, Kathleen.
Well, thank you all so very much for tuning into our show. And if you are interested in being a guest on the show, please visit us at theyakkingshow.com. All you need to do is click on the contacts tab and fill out a short application form. So until next week, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.